Welcome to Lessons from the Woodlot. It's also affectionately known as the podcast that gives away a free farm every year to some lucky subscriber on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, Lessons from the Woodlot. Subscribe, you're automatically entered to win. I think there's, I don't know, 15, 1,700 now. I think we're up to 1,700. So it went from like a 1 in an 800 chance to like a 1 in a 1,700 chance.
Still pretty good odds.
Still pretty good odds. Yeah, still pretty good odds. The farm sold next door to the giveaway farm. And so you're not only getting our money, you're getting the appreciation on our money as well. So congratulations, whoever wins the farm. It's worth a lot more than it was. So we're really excited to do that. If you didn't get to the end of the last episode, Mark and I will be at the Iowa Classic in March. It's what we say was the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yep.
We'll be in the Iowa Classic. We're going to have Mad Hatter, who is sitting here affectionately to my left, and Zeus will be there, along with Steve Pinkston, Hardcore E-Cycles, Jake, our producer, Mark, myself. We have invited a couple other buddies as well. So you never know who's there. We'll be there to interact with you guys and
We'll have some fun. Have some fun that week.
We have fun with everything we do, right? Yeah, it's kind of cool, like the way we have this, because it's just me and Mark, and we're not beholden to anybody, and we kind of like it this way, right? Life's good,
It's liberating.
It is liberating, yeah. You can just kind of talk to you guys, and one of our things I know a lot of the listeners really enjoy is like they want to hang out, So we shot the last podcast. It's kind of like a hangout podcast, and this podcast is a little different. We have a really cool subject to talk about today, and it's really about, I guess I want to say this, the nicest way I know to say it is like, so a lot of the podcast stuff to me seems regurgitated, and, it's like, there's a theme, it's like, this week it's, or last week it was drones, the week before it's, Booners, and like, it didn't, and then it's like, you see one podcast and they talk about it in the second and the third and the fourth. And so, it was just one of those things. And so, sometimes when people say things, I listen to them and I listen to other podcasts and I enjoy them. Mark will talk to a cinder block. If he thinks it's interested in deer hunting, Mark will spend time and educate that deer about egress, hunting his farm like a ghost. And the cinder block won't say anything, but if Mark thinks he's interested, that we're gonna stay the path. So we love talking deer. We will talk deer every day. We talk for hours. It's life's good, and we really do all of this to try to help everybody have their best season. Would like to be clear with you guys. We're not just doing this for trophy hunting. We're hunters. We love to hunt. I have killed significantly more does than I will ever kill bucks. And they're my preferred eat. I like me a good juicy doe. But long story short, we're here today and we're going to talk about the disappearance of all the booners. And that seems to be the new topic, and all the deer are disappearing and things of that nature. And it's okay. Like one of the things, when I hear a topic, I try to diagnose it, Mark, I like, all the deer are doing this. And then I like, we have multiple farms, multiple states, and we get to look at those cameras and we're like, oh, our deer are doing that too. Jack Houston's awesome buddy of ours. If we ever have a question like, hey, Jack, I'm seeing this. He's like, I'm seeing the same thing. Hey, I'm seeing this. I'm seeing it too, So normally we're in sync with him, and it's kind of a good person to run a kind of a gut check by. But if he's flying the drone around doing surveys and he's seeing these people's farms, if there was a lack of booners, I think he would be probably the authority to say, yeah, there's no more, But I think, Mark, a lot of it comes down to farm selection. And you and I talk about farm selection multiple times a week.
I think there's a multitude of things there too.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like the one that got away story, or the whatever. And I guess what I'm getting at with that is how big was that deer really? So back in the day, because everybody keeps talking about back in the day, and again, I a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, but we can dive right into this. Back in the day, there wasn't as many trail cameras. There wasn't as whatever. And when dude came home and he seen a 150 and he inflated that thing to a 185 in his big story, a lot of times that happens. And there is a perception of a lot more big deer than's already than is actually out there. But
Mm-hmm.
once the rubber hits the road, all of a sudden, and you got to put up or shut up. People tend to not show those particular deer because
Mm-hmm.
they really didn't ever have them in the first place, so to speak.
Right.
And I will say that, and drones are a huge topic too. But and again, talking to Jack and so on and so forth, there's even in the best states in the country, there's not a booner around every corner. There's never been a booner around every corner. Don't get me wrong, there are pockets. There's pockets. There's still pockets now. You don't believe me? Trust me. Take my phone. Take my
Yes.
phone and let me show you text messages from clients. I'll give you an example. I had a client that bought a farm, actually bought two farms, about 3/4 of a mile apart. Let's call it 5 or 6 years ago. I don't exactly know how long ago, but I was out for, well, this is 3 seasons ago now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to even say the state. I don't want to. Then people zoning in on them. Some people are pretty amazing in the way that they do things. But anyway, and don't get me wrong, it's a substantial size acreage in the two, over 800 acres, I think, between the two. But when I was there, he didn't have a 150-inch deer, to speak of on the farm, and through his work, through logging or TSI, getting, browse in there and taking human pressure off and adding food and doing all of the things that he has done to apply to make this farm more desirable, better. Him and his family group that hunt that farm concluded this year. I say concluded, that season's still going, but I don't think that anybody's still hunting. But he shot a 202, and they shot 5 total deer. Every single deer, 5.5 or older. Every one of them above 155 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a 3-year turnaround from 100, not 150-inch deer type deer to all of that. Now, are all the Booners gone on that place? I mean, they were gone before it started, So I guess what I'm getting at is there's there are pockets, and a lot of people will buy a farm chasing a deer, buy a farm. We had an offer, or at least an attempted to make an offer on the farm you just shot Matt Hatter off of, and and again, and don't get me wrong, that particular situation, he might have some other big deer, coming up. But yes. I'm just saying that a lot of people chase a ghost, if you will. They're chasing a ghost, and then are disappointed,
right,
when they've bought that farm that a mega giant was shot off of, and they don't have the same type of results, and then they're upset with it. Well, I mean, there is a ton of different things that could answer that question, as to why that, it could be an anomaly because a big deer pops up wherever a big deer pops up. But when there are farms and places, because there are farms and places that just seem to consistently dump them out. And to everything I've seen, those places are still dumping them out. And here's the thing, it's no super secret. It's no super secret. Most every deer herd has the genetic possibility of doing it. They need food, proper nutrition. Again, the analogy I always use here is a grizzly bear. An Alaskan grizzly bear, an inland grizzly, and a coastal brown are the exact same species. They're not a cousin. They're not the exact same species, but one is nearly 4 times the size of the other, because the one has nonstop high quality protein, because there's nonstop, salmon and stuff running up out of the oceans, up the rivers for a period of ways, and then spawning and dying and so on and so forth. And every one of those bears can eat themselves full like a tick anytime they want to. They get fed, they get proper feed, and they grow much bigger. And it's the same thing here. That deer, it's still a whitetail. It can still get big. It just needs the right nutrition played out in the right way. And then he needs age.
Right.
if he's got that, you got big deer. And I don't care where you're at, how you're at. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's many different subspecies, and some subspecies get bigger than others. I'm not saying that. Hey, I think in the worst area of the farthest reaches of the whitetail world, you can grow 280s, like can pop up in some of your higher soil nutrient areas. I'm just saying that you can still grow some pretty big, nice deer. And to say, where are all the Booners? They're all gone, and it's because of X, Y, Z. I mean, is it arguable? Yeah, but I could clearly argue against everything you got to say there, for the most part. And everybody wants to have their opinion, which I'm just giving mine.
Sure.
So this is just my opinion as well. But the technology, because most of the time it's pointed straight at technology. As all I'm getting at. And I think technology is just a truth teller. And what I mean by that is there never has been, multiple Booners around every corner. And some of the people that I have seen that are saying, there's no big deer, and it's because of this, it's because of that. And most of the ones I've seen talking this year have been pretty successful about killing an awful big deer this year. And again, that's a compliment, not
Sure.
throwing shade. I'm throwing compliments out there. Congratulations. You killed another great big deer, but you killed another great big deer while you're saying there is no big deer because of this, because of that. And you just shot another great big deer on your farm. To me, that doesn't hold a lot of weight. It's almost a do as I say, not as I do scenario. Sure. I'm saying this, but I actually am killing top 3, 4, 2 deer I've ever, you ever shot in your life,
Yeah. And for me, when I hear it, it's not what I see. My own 2 eyes, it's not what I see. I've seen more Boone and Crockett deer this year than I've ever seen in my entire life, thanks to you. So if you hear something and it goes against what your eyes are telling you, then we kind of just save it as a topic for discussion.
Sure.
And then we overanalyze everything, and not to sound, I don't know how to say this any nicer, but I seek patterns. When I day trade, I seek patterns. When I'm in business, I seek patterns. Patterns tell you everything, right? Mm-hmm. I tell you all the time, the older I get, the less I believe in coincidence, right? So we find patterns. So when we started hearing that, we talked, and I think the number one issue is the people that bought the farm. I'll go to bed tonight, and I will rest well. And I'm not trying to throw shade at a realtor, because you're going to probably think I'm throwing shade at you. It's your job to sell a property. You get paid to sell a property, and I 100% I understand that. And if somebody's got a property and it has tree stands and a blind on it, and I was a realtor, I'd probably tell you it's turnkey too. But how do we help our listeners? How do we provide value in this conversation? So I think if we go back, we say, well, what did we do different? Because that's not what we see on the farms that we have and we own and we manage and we hunt and we lease and we get permission on. And so I started thinking about it, and I'm like, we don't hunt Kansas, Illinois, Iowa, all of our farms, every farm. We do not hunt out of one tree stand that someone left on a farm we purchased. Not one.
Yeah.
Now, there are those old guys that are like, man, you show me a tree stand that's fallen. I'll tell you, some old timer sat up there and he just knocked him dead because he knew how to hunt. He knew woodsman skills, right? There are times that works. But if you see a big game 2-man ladder stand sitting on the edge of a field, you're like, how the hell are you getting in and out of that? But it's already hung. So I think people kind of fall into it's been hunted for years, right? And they probably had their Tink 69 cent bombs and all their stuff. You don't know how somebody hunted before you. You don't know what they did. And I'm not trying to throw shade at Tinks. I'm just saying you don't know what happened at that farm before you bought it. What we know.
What happened at that spot. So
Right.
actually,
Every deer comes
you know,
out looking right at you.
I am nonstop talking about ingress, egress, and and most people, that's where I see their biggest failures.
Yep.
Okay, so when somebody is coming up and selling you a turnkey farm with blinds in place and stands in place and all of that stuff, and none of that, I cringe.
We run.
I cringe. I giggle every time I see somebody
Yep.
put a turnkey. Turnkey. Usually, and again, I'm not trying to be mean to the realtor. I'm just saying what I see.
We would do the same thing if we were selling it.
And I'll tell you, if any of our farms, I tell you, it's turnkey. But here's the thing, and I will challenge any single person that wants to buck up here. Come to our farm. Come to one of the farms.
Mm-hmm.
And then you, as a consumer of somebody that might want to buy a farm,
Right.
look at that farm, and then look the way it is designed and how every I's dotted and T's crossed, and then go get on any realtor you want to,
Yeah.
and find the first ad that says turnkey. It will take you 0.2 seconds to find that.
100%.
And then go to that farm and tell me which farm's turnkey.
Right.
But because I always say I liken it to old muscle cars because I'm into old muscle cars. If you're not into old muscle cars and you're driving down the road, you'll drive past 100 of them and never see one. Your mind doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. It's not interested in it.
Right.
So therefore, it doesn't even see it. It puts on its own invisible blinders.
Yep.
But the moment you get into old muscle cars, you see them everywhere. You'll see a tail light hidden in an old barn door. Oh, shoot, there's a 68 Camaro over there. And you drive down the road. Oh, my God, there's a CUDA. And you start seeing them everywhere. It's because you have opened your mind to this, something, a new like or whatever. And you're seeing the attention to detail.
Right.
That's where I'm headed with this.
Sure.
When you don't realize what you don't know, you don't see what you don't know that you didn't see.
Yeah.
But the moment you see the difference, the moment you're like, oh my gosh, okay. Oh, you mean I could hunt that right here with this, and this wind, and I could hunt that 100 times, and not one of these deer that's coming to and from this will ever know I was there. That's what I'm telling you.
Right.
Now that's turnkey. That's turnkey.
Mm-hmm.
That's I didn't educate all these deer. This place it's sitting here, my ingress, my egress, and everything is laid out in a manner at which, and can you be 100%? No. Yeah, I'm not saying you'll ever be 100%. Some stupid doe or some deer is going to get where it never, ever in the world should have been for whatever reason. Because the good Lord told it to is why,
right.
I guess, whatever. But I'm saying if I can be 98% or if I can be 99%, then all of a sudden, the third phase of my hunting gets to be probably my most fruitful time.
Mm-hmm.
Without that in place,
right.
By the time third phase, which I consider third phase is late season, when you get to that third phase, late season time frame, if you will, your first and second phase can ruin that completely. And I know I said that just in the last episode or whatever, but it's factual. It's a factual-based situation. And I could sit down and give example after example of why it worked and others of why they didn't.
Correct.
And if you haven't thought about your ingress and egress in the past, and you have some standing beans or corn right now, and you go sit over it, and you're seeing 1, 0, 2 deer, guess what? Your 1 and 2 phase ruined your 3 phase, and that's where I'm at. Because honestly, this year, the late muzzleloader for Iowa hasn't necessarily been great as far as temperature wise.
Yeah.
But up to this point, late season has been absolutely dynamite. It's put a bunch of snow on the ground, so it's blocked up a lot of your undergrowth browse stuff for them to eat on.
Yeah.
And every day that it was cold that snow was laying on there, it made that food more and more and more and more powerful.
Yeah.
And and you got to see in real time, in real life, for your first ever, really, you got to see how third phase works when it is laid out in a manner that it's supposed to be done. And it's been hunted. And again, I'm beating a dead horse, but you hunted the crap out of that. When I say hunted the crap out of it,
sure.
You hunted it as smart as you possibly could for 9 straight weeks, every opportunity you had.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and then you kill him and he walks out at 315, you know?
Yeah.
So my point with this is that, you know, if you are smart and if you are playing it in a proper manner and so on and so forth, you will get your opportunities at the deer on that farm.
Right.
Now, again, getting back on task or on subject here, I think the ability to grow them at this point in time is better than ever in theory. Now, don't get me wrong. And I haven't went down this wormhole yet because this is a new topic to most people. I think just one day somebody that had a voice stood up and said, "Well, I think that all the Booners are gone." Well, I think you could probably pull up the Boone and Crockett record books right now
Mm-hmm.
and debunk the crap out of that.
Yeah.
I think if you went down and Cameron Coble, I know you're probably listening, you know, and I call him the human deer encyclopedia.
Mm-hmm.
The guy remembers every inch of every deer. You could show that. I am impressed by his photographic memory of deer antlers. It's actually amazing to watch. But and he likes doing stat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, look, let's not go off of somebody's mouth. Let's go off of facts. And I assure you, Cameron can bring the receipts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I will tell you this, just because of the people that I'm fortunate enough to rub elbows with on a daily. Stand by. If you haven't ever been to an Iowa Deer and Turkey Classic, I tell you right now, you should probably be at this year's because there's some jaw droppers coming.
Some biggins.
Some big ones
yeah.
coming. I mean,
yeah,
a massive one. I know of a 273 that was just scored. I mean,
yeah.
You know, there's 250s, 270s. I mean, there's some megas coming. In theory, coming if they all show up. You know, that the Iowa Deer and Turkey Classic this year should be a spectacle of big deer.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that they're all gone, how's that happening? Mm-hmm. I think the pockets bounce, the pockets morph and move.
Yes.
You know, they might be gone on your property for a little while,
sure.
but again, is that because, you know, you're hunting? And again, the hunting industry has, if you think about it, the hunting industry has changed so much in the last even 15 years over the previous 15 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like technology right now. I think 15 years from now, and this is kind of your wheelhouse. I think 15 years from now, with the induction of AI the way that it is, I don't even think we will recognize right now self. I think 15 years from now, you're going to be telling 10 and 12-year-old kids about what life was before AI. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even think it's recognizable at that point.
Yeah.
So I think that every industry across the board is going to have a hard time keeping up with technology at this time.
Sure.
And I'm talking about even law enforcement side of things.
Yeah.
You know, I completely agree with the fact that I think that you could, if somebody was willing to be illegal, you could take a drone and throw it up and be a lethal animal. You could. There's no doubt about it. I agree with that. Do I think that is the reason for the drop in Boone and Crockett numbers? No, because I don't think there's a drop in Boone and Crockett numbers. There might be a drop in Boone and Crockett numbers on your farm, you know. And why is that?
Right.
Because two of your neighbors used to not be your neighbors,
right?
And those two neighbors didn't hunt beforehand, and all of a sudden you had to age. You know, there's many factors, more than you could possibly load into the algorithm as to why that is.
Yeah.
But if you just look at numbers, because the problem is the numbers, for the most part, they always say numbers don't lie. I mean, obviously there are some that doesn't get put in, but there's some that doesn't get put in every state. So that has to, for the most part, level the playing field. Yeah. You know, so if just look at numbers of Boone and Crockett entries per year, in the last 20 years. And let's see. Let's just
Yeah.
look. And Cameron, there's your homework
Yeah.
assignment.
Yeah.
There's your homework assignment, and we'll unveil that at the Iowa Deer and Turkey Classic as you enter Tim's new Boone and Crockett record, deer. And all I'm saying is no, I've had years that I've had farms and I had 4 Boone and Crockett deer on the same farm.
Right.
Did I have that this year? Nope. Did not.
Yeah.
Do I think that's because there's a massive decline in numbers? No. No. I mean, there are ebbs, there are flows. And again, and that one was particularly, that particular farm I'm talking about was permission.
Yeah.
Hunter, my son, actually shot 2 of those in the same year. He shot the 174 and the 203 same year. It's a good. I think that was his 12th. I think he was 12 at that time. Spoiled the shit out of him. I probably shouldn't have done that. But
It happens.
it happens.
Yeah, and it goes back to I think about when we're not trying to beat up on realtors. We've had this conversation with you guys. So realtors, we love you guys. We understand why you do it. But then there are certain land guys that really get it. Like they know. And I think like Jesse and Danny Fain, they brought us that farm last year in central Iowa.
Yep.
And that farm had 5 Booners late season.
Legit. Those were legit.
Yeah. Legit.
Pictures of legit 170 class deer.
You and I set out this year.
170 and up.
170 and up.
They're
already there.
There was a couple that wasn't close to 170. Yeah. They was well above that.
Right.
But
one of them got shot.
Yeah.
202. 206. So one of the 5 got shot. 206. One of them got shot by you. The split threes, and that
which I
awesome
scored him. So he broke one of his splits. It's 165 and some change, without the other one, the one that is broken. And we got all the pictures and video and all that stuff. So we within half an inch, you're pretty certain how long it was, but the other side was 8 inches and just a tick over 8 inches.
Yeah.
So if you match that on the other side, it looked like it was about the same.
Yeah.
It's like 173, 74 inch deer. Something like that.
Right.
Was where he was at.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at that farm and you look at it objectively the way we did, we weren't going in there this year to kill 5 Booners, Mark. That never was on any of our discussion. What our discussion was that there was 1 buck on there that was your primary buck, and that you were targeted this year. We're going to change some things up next year. You targeted that deer. You had to wait for that deer to show up, and he never made it to late season because he got harvested on public land. And that's part of free range hunting.
Yeah, 100%.
You congratulated the guy, and
that morning,
he was, here you go, congrats. We got trail cam pictures, yada yada yada. So
gave him all those pictures that we had of him.
We didn't have his sheds, or we would have gave him his sheds.
Yep.
Now, I don't think most people would do that, but we immediately set out to make that thing so we could hunt it like a ghost. The farmers that had it, we've talked to you guys, like they mowed everything down. So there was no way to get in and out of that farm this year, really,
No.
and Mark went on a Hail Mary and he knew the day was right and he harvested one. But all along, if the 200 had come back, if Southbound came back home and you harvested that deer, I told you that typical, that one night, that son of a gun, like that son, he had my eye and I was in love, Yep. But we had Mad Hatter, and Mad Hatter was the goal for this year. But at no point were we like, oh, we're going to go in there and kill 4 of them. So this farm is 74 acres. Danny Fain, Jesse Stay, bring it to us. And, Jesse's like, I want to buy the thing myself. He's like, I just can't buy them all, but this one's a good, Tim, it's a good, so there are people out there, to the realtor's credit, but we don't hunt out of any stand that they left on that farm. We don't care. We don't want to. It's not the way we can get in and out of that farm. So we immediately go to it. So when we hear these things and we're like, this isn't what we see, but we're hearing it, so then we're like, okay, well, let's see what's happening. So I would say for the average listener, they're like, hey, you know what, man, I'm watching the podcast. I want to go shoot big deer. I'm going to go buy a farm in Illinois, Iowa, wherever, Kansas, and I'm looking for something that's turnkey. We want to tell you that actually is not what we run from turnkey farms. We don't want a turnkey farm. Yeah. That just means to us that they've educated people where all those tree stands are and where those blinds are. And I'm sorry, it's just the way we see it. And so it's what we do different than what you do. So if we're not seeing a shortage of these animals, then I would say that the thing that we're doing different is probably why we don't see it the way they see it for the average guy that's coming in to buy one farm. If you've got one shot, okay, and the way I see it, I pay Mark at the front, not at the back. I want Mark's eyes and experience. You know, the score is 23 to technically 1 right now, 2. You know, we have some more work to do. Late season, you know, the deer showed up alive that we thought was dead, so score's going to change. So I want Mark's eyes on that farm, and I am going to say the Booner chair over here is feeling real nice on me right now.
It does.
So,
Yeah.
so we want Mark's eyes on that farm to know beforehand that I'm not getting myself into a situation that's going to create an enormous amount of work to try to make a farm right. Because the more work you do, and you got to go grind in on that farm to try to fix all the things that might be wrong, like just look at the farm as Jesse called, said, "Dude, I got a good one. Send it to me." He sent it to me. And me and Mark looked at him and said, "Ooh." It immediately piqued our interest. But it wasn't so much about what was on a trail camera. It was about the way it sat. And it sat in a neighborhood of almost 600 acres with one other hunter and us. So we know we're not going to mismanage the property. We know we're not going to kill a 3-year-old 14 point. We're not going to kill a 18 point that's 2. We're going to let them deer grow. And when we see like that drop tine buck, you know, that I was thinking about for my son, you know, he's, I don't know, that deer looks like he's 15 years old. I mean, he's just heavy, old Raggedy Ann, drop tine and stuff, gnarly, you know, deer, his tines like come across the top of his head.
He does look weird.
You know,
he's unique.
He's a very unique, but he looks old, right?
Oh, he is mature.
It's time for us to take that animal out of that herd. So if we can in late season, that's what we want to do. But at no point do we say we're going to go in there and shoot all of our Booners. Fast forward to the 52, you know, and so what I want to say to people is if you got one shot to buy this farm, we're going to, like, every year we need content for you guys, and you're going to see in 2026, you're going to see a lot more production on what we actually are doing at the farms. You know, Jake's going to be with us a lot more, so you're going to see what we do. But for us to give you content, we have to sell a couple of these farms. And if you have a farm that has Booners on it, and you have a farm that has your Booner next year, and the 52 has your Booner for 26 and it has your Booner for 27. You got the perfect 10 for 27, and that deer is going to be a mega. If you have the self-discipline to pass him.
No, that's not him.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
There, as a 2-year-old.
That's him as a 2. He's a pretty impressive 3. Right?
He is, and we have video of the deer in the beans, eating the beans late season. We're giving that deer all the nutrition that he needs, the turnips, the radishes, everything that animal needs is right where he needs it with no pressure. So if you want to buy a farm, you're going to have the chance to go and buy one of our 2 farms that we're selling. But we're going to tell you, all you have to do is not screw it up. Just follow the plan, and you're going to kill the big 9. That some gun, he showed up at that farm and he has not left. And Mark and I watched him, and I'm telling you, there was a couple times he turned his head and I'm like, "Are you sure he ain't a Booner now, Mark?" Like he's
4-year-old. Don't get me wrong, he's not a Booner yet, but
he's close.
But he's going to be a big old boy.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's going to look the part too, because wide has got more deer killed than anything.
Yes,
he just happens to be wide too. You know,
yes.
So he's got this big frame on him, as well as he's got. I mean, he's going to be a really nice
big
deer this year.
Wide, heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And, so there's somebody going to have the opportunity to buy that 52 acres.
The 6x5 still in that.
And the 6x5 still there.
Yeah.
So there are so many deer in that area, in that neighborhood. So when we say we're going to sell a farm, like we're going to sell you a farm that has a Booner. So if somebody's saying there's a shortage of Booners, it's just how we hunt and we do things differently. But we can't keep them all. And it's kind of like selling your kidney. You really don't want to have to sell your kidney, but if you're in a situation where you have to sell your kidney, like we just can't keep every farm we have. It's just not humanly possible, because those turns are what allows us to take the profits from those farms and give away a farm to our viewers.
And the farm too. So we run into a lot of, and again, this is a little bit off topic, but
Sure.
we run into a lot of or at least I do on the consulting side of things. I get to a farm a lot of times, and it's either the guy or gal doesn't have the deer that they're after,
Mm-hmm.
or they do have the deer they're after, and they just can't seem to close the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's usually, so they're either frustrated because they don't have them, or they're frustrated because they have them and they're constantly getting pictures and they can't kill them. And that person's usually the more frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong. I have one particular, client that I even went out to, and he's in Nebraska. And then we've moved his needle for sure. We've moved his needle, and it's bigger deer, but his neighbor situation is such that they just won't allow a deer to get that big,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just beating his head off the wall, and and I've only told one other person this, but I'm like, it might be worth selling,
Mm-hmm.
it might be worth pulling up the roots, and driving down the road.
Yeah.
And he's not too far from Kansas, and he's fortunate enough to potentially be retired if he sells out, if you will. So I think he's potentially even making a move completely statewide,
Mm-hmm.
as well, just to try to get rid of the situation that he's currently been in.
Right.
But my point with some of this here is that not all farms are created equal either.
Correct.
And they're not all created equal size-wise, deer-wise, because of most of the time the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going there's a little prerequisite again. Just like I always talk about the big deer have this prerequisite this little box. Well, the Mark Luster prerequisite box has all of his wants in that box as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have my own.
Yeah.
My own. I'm not going to give all the secrets, if you will, but I'm just saying my own set of prerequisites encompass all of his plus some of mine. And if I can get all of his, then I have everything he wants on that. And then the plus some of mine, it allows me to get in and get out and get everything laid out almost foolproof.
Yes.
Like almost, if not absolutely foolproof. And if you can do that, if you can snag that farm, it doesn't matter what's there now. We'll get there as long as we don't have that neighbor situation. I'm saying.
Yeah.
So whenever I go look, when somebody hires me to go help them find a farm to do that, then I've got my box of prerequisites of his. I got my box of prerequisites of mine, and I'm trying to check off every one of those checkoffs.
Right.
If I get that, I'm full bar. That's your green lights.
Right.
That's your green lights to go. And most people would be shocked at what I am. Dude, you need to buy this.
Right.
Versus I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, because most of the I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole are where 90% of your hunters are jumping on like it's going out of style.
It is the hottest chick it's the hottest chick in high school going to homecoming by herself. Everybody wants to be there with her.
Yep.
Like, and we're like, wow, they're everybody, they're falling. Like, okay.
And Jack, I don't want to keep bouncing back to Jack, but Jack Houston was flying the drone. I mean,
he sees what we got.
He even talked about it, quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's like, I just, the way you guys look at things might be just a little bit different, and it is true. But I just seen him on another podcast just the other day, and he got asked, where do you see? Actually, it was Mr. Is it Hoffer? His last name's Hoffer, right?
Jake Hoffer.
It's
Hofer.
Is that how I pronounce it, Jake? Yeah, very nice guy. Matter of fact,
He's a cribs guy, right?
He came and did whitetail cribs at my house. Yeah. Real nice guy. I actually liked him a lot. But he was interviewing Jack, and he was pressing him a little bit on where are you seeing your the big ones, not your big ones,
yeah,
but your big ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it was pretty funny because Jay, I don't even know that Jack necessarily wanted to come off that. It was almost like he was going to give enough information
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but the moral of the story is he's like, listen, it's not what you think.
Yeah.
It's not what you think. It's out there, kind
Yeah.
of, you know. And
And to reinforce your point,
and it is to
right?
yes,
To,
100%.
to
I watched
reinforce
it.
that point, Jesse Stay and I had a conversation about real estate values in a particular county in Iowa.
Hmm.
A particular county we are obsessed with. A particular county that we have more big deer on camera than any other county we have. And yet, no one wants to buy land there.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the cheapest land you can buy and nobody wants it. And you and I are like, can we sell a kidney? Like, like, dude, I'll take as much land there as I can get. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys are going to get to go with us. We're actually doing a scouting episode in that area, and you're going to watch us, and we're going to show you some next level shit. You know, to an extent. I may not disclose the name of the county, but you know, it's crazy. And obviously people know what county I'm talking about. We've had this conversation with realtors, but nobody wants to buy there. They can't sell it. They can't get it. It's like, it's the most bang for your buck. It's this, it's that. And like the realtors are like, it's whatever they could try to say to try to sell land in that area. And I mean, I wish I could sell a lot of shit and just, if I just sold all our stocks and like, man, I could clean house in that county next year. I mean, you know it and I know it. Like there's something going on there and we like it a lot. Well, the older I get, the less I believe in coincidence. So does that mean because nobody's going there and buying there, it's not getting pressure? That's exactly what it means. And we want to be away from everyone else to reduce our pressure, So I don't think it's really a coincidence. And Jack has told us, you guys see the wood, like you guys see it differently. You know what I mean? And so I think as we do this and we sell these farms, like you guys, the viewer, you want a badass 52 acres. You don't need to buy 5,000 acres. You don't need 1,000 acres to hold deer. That farm has held deer. We've had buck parades on it where, 30 deer walk in front of you, while you're sitting in the blind and you're just filming deer after deer after deer. And you're like, there's another buck and another buck and another buck. And it's happened at that farm because that farm's been hunted a total, I think, of 3 days this season. 3 days total. We don't pressure our farms. We have the 154, which will be, it's the greatest mousetrap Mark Lester has ever designed in his entire life. I assure you, we have said it from day one. The first person that wants 154 acres in Iowa, they walk on that farm. It's sold. It's done. It is the greatest mousetrap you've ever built. Mark designed it in a way that he knew the way the deer would want to feed in their need. We have hunted that farm one day this year.
It's been
or two.
I think,
2 days.
yeah.
So it's had a human on it twice. I filmed there once, and just to try to get footage of this. Like it's amazing, but the deer to go from one food source to the other food source
just walks the gauntlet.
They just yeah.
It's
walk
like the gauntlet. It is so much fun.
Yeah,
you on any given day that one of the big ones gets up and walking, you could literally shoot him in 3 different spots, usually on every single one of them.
And like the big 6x5 last night, he comes up, boom, camera, boom, camera, boom, camera, and you're like, he hit 3 out of 4 gap cameras, and all he's doing is going to eat.
Yep.
He's going from bed to feed,
And that's what I was getting at earlier. Not all farms set up in a manner that you can do that.
Right.
But when you get those special ones that do, you don't let those slip through your fingers.
No.
Now, here's the thing. Now, you're going to go, and again, and I know that maybe this is an oversimplification of things.
Mm-hmm.
There are consultants out there, and this is me shamelessly plugging myself, I guess. So take it for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. But our consultants that and don't get me wrong, I'll definitely come to your farm and help you out. But if you're getting ready to make a $1 million purchase, or more or less or whatever, but a substantial purchase on a piece of property,
mm-hmm.
and then you was going to go get a consultant or whatever to help you out.
Yeah.
Why would you not get the consultant on the front side to help you choose?
Yeah.
the right property that can then be built into that mega if you're not looking through that lens
Right.
yourself when you went to make that purchase.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
100%.
You know, it is anymore. Land ain't cheap. Land
No.
isn't cheap. So when you're looking towards that side of things, I'm simply stating, why not have, if you're going to go that way anyway, I'm saying, why not engage a person that can look at that and be like, okay, I see what you're seeing here, but have you thought about these pitfalls?
Sure.
But on this one that you've got earmarked here, this one here does not have those pitfalls. Or this is that one's pitfalls, this is that one's pitfalls, this is the lesser of the two evils. I would either A, keep looking, or B, is this something that you can live with? Now, C, I can say, if it were me, I wouldn't do it because of X, Y, Z, whatever. And we'll lay all of that out until we've got you the right farm that can then be built into exactly what you want seamlessly. Yeah. Go talk to any construction worker in the world, and he's going to tell you that 100 out of 100 times he'd rather build new construction as to tear down old construction, because then you're fixing all of yesteryear's mistakes. You have to tear it down before you build it back up, versus just building it up the right way from the start when you had a blank slate.
100%.
But so if you're going to make that purchase and you're going to go that way anyway, as far as to get a consultant or whatever, why possibly make a mistake and then try to polish up the turd versus picking out the diamond and then shining her up to where you can't see it,
And I
mean,
really
that's
feel
all
like
I'm getting at.
That's what we've done. Mark, when we look at it, and you look at, land in Illinois hitting 10,000 an acre for a rec ground. Okay. And I don't care. People can laugh and they say they're crazy, but you know what?
It's happening. We're seeing it.
I watched it. I think I seen a 92.50, but my point is 92.50 an acre. And we're kind of sitting here going, like, we have a farm that has a lineage. We have 4 years of postseason food that has remained on that farm for those animals to eat. They're in the prime condition for Illinois because you can't supplement in that state. But then we have the 154. It's the same. We've supplemented all last winter. We went out there. We have recruited a lot of new deer in the last couple of weeks, especially. And I think as January and February unfolds, that farm's just going to keep sucking everything everything in that neighborhood. We drew in
a gorgeous 4-year-old on that farm. And he's probably, I don't know. He's probably in the 160 range. But he's like there. He's the one of those that he looks like this guy. Yeah. Not quite as heavy, but he's got that big
look.
Nice.
I immediately sent you that picture. I'm like, dude,
that one's gonna blow.
Yeah.
Here he is. And don't get me wrong, they don't all do it, but some of them like this. He's got a lot of separation between his tines, and his beams are long past his G4s. He's got the great frame. I mean, like, he's just poised to just be a hog next year.
Yeah. But there's been no pressure.
That farm too. There's
food, water.
Well, that's where I'm getting. That's where I'm
Security.
Headed. We've got water tanks. We've got food in that. We've got alfalfa. We've got corn. We've got beans, all standing. I mean, they didn't see a winter pressure, or they didn't see any kind of winter stress last year. They're not going to see any winter stress this year.
Yeah.
At this point, when season's almost over, but at this point, there's not a single deer that's been shot off that farm.
No.
Every single one that was with us in Velvet is still with us right now.
Right.
I mean, and on any given day,
you
can murder most any of them that's on it.
Right.
But it is just, that farm lays out really, really well. Plus, we put a little cabin on it, and there's a pond on it, and there's, I mean,
So would you want to buy a farm that has had no hunting pressure, all the food they could ever want, 2 straight winters that we can guarantee that they were fed, they had everything they needed, protein, like they had everything they've needed for 2 years? Would you want to buy that farm? or would you want to buy the turnkey farm and go hunt out of somebody's tree stand? And it's really, we almost have to educate people that, you know, they're their own worst enemy by doing it, because I know the people that do it, because I was one of them. If I hadn't have done what I did, I would have come to the Midwest and I would have just thought every single farm had Booners tied up on the corner. Like, they're there everywhere. Just move to Iowa, they're everywhere. That's not the case. We know that's not the case, because the farm actually matters what you buy. Having tree stands on it and blinds doesn't make it marketable to us. We don't even want it. I told your son, you know, Mark's son Hunter, he does outfitting for some guys. And I'm like, you can go to every single farm we buy. You can have every old tree stand. You can take everyone off the farm. Man, we will keep you in the tree stands, because when Mark puts up a stand on a farm, a lot of our farms may only have 2 or 3 stands, because you only need 2 or 3 stands for 2 or 3 different phases. Typically, late phase, you're going to be in a box. Rut phase, you're going to be in a heavy cover, right? You know, in the egress to them. So we get on some of these farms, and I think about the Jurassic Park farm. I don't know. I stopped counting. That farm had more tree stands on it than you could shake a stick at. It was just, everywhere they saw a corner, they put a tree stand, you know? So I think about those farms, and I think that's why when we hear things like, hey, there are no more of them, it's not what we see, you know? And the other piece of it is you've made a living taking mature Boone and Crockett class deer by permission. That means you know how to find them. And finding them is the key thing that somebody wanting to buy a farm or bring a consultant in, the number one question you want to ask is, how do you find your deer? Because if that consultant hunts on one farm and they've got a portfolio of 2 or 3 nice bucks, I mean, hell, I have a nice buck, but I'm not a land consultant. I've learned from you for 2 straight years. I'm not a land consultant. I'll never be a land consultant. I don't want to be a land consultant, because I look at you and I will never be the woodsman that you are. I can learn from you, Mark, but it's your gift. It's not my gift. It's your gift. And so, you know, that's the way we set these things up, and it's just a fact, you know. And so when people say they don't see them, we're seeing them all the time. We have so many Boone and Crockett deer that we can chase. We haven't even gone on a farm that's 154 acres. There's not been one deer harvested on that farm, you know. And you start thinking about the farms we have, and you start going, well, gee, we haven't pushed a lot of those farms. You know what I mean? I think the 74 has been hunted one time.
Twice.
Yeah.
Well, no.
There was an observation sit.
There's an observation sit.
And the next day there was a hunt.
I went to, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, imagine having a farm that has 5 Boone and Crockett deer on it last year, and it's been hunted. Twice. Had a human on it twice this year, you know, during the season. And so we just don't have to push the farms that hard, because the farms we buy, they all have Boone and Crockett deer.
Well, and that's why I like to preach diversity. And don't get me wrong, not everybody can have that opportunity. But
sure,
if you did have one farm that you owned, and maybe a farm that you had a little lease on, and then maybe a couple permission pieces, well, now you've got 4 farms diversity, and you can spread out your hunting pressure on each and any one of those particular deer that you're after.
Right.
You know, and again, like I said, and I can't stress it enough, you lay it out in a 3-phase, and you lay it out in a 3-phase fashion, and you're a much better situation.
Yeah. Sure.
Because I have a very distinct early season plan. I have a very distinct rut plan. I have a very distinct late season plan.
Right.
And again, they do overlay. The one will screw the other if you don't, if you're not intelligent with it. But then when you have that diversity, you can mitigate, you know, exactly when you go into each one of these, because each one of your deer that you hopefully have a good deer on each one of the farms, or multiples, they're telling you different things and different winds and different, you know, triggers to them that have them doing things on your farm that you don't. And then you can pick and choose as you go. Yeah. And essentially, you know, that allows you to be very unpredictable to him.
Correct.
And then you're a ghost. And if you're a ghost, you're in his blind spot. And if you're in his blind spot, that's where we like to stay.
You're in the money.
That's where we like to stay.
Yeah. And it's really, I mean, I think that is the number one key of all of this for us, was really like, we don't see it. So we're not trying to say that other people don't see it, because obviously I was born and raised in Florida. I live in Iowa. you can't hunt what doesn't exist. You can hunt in Bull Creek Management Area your entire life and never see a deer that scores 160 inches. Okay.
Yeah.
It can happen. It's a huge wildlife area, So if you don't live in a state where these animals are at and you want to chase one, it's pretty tough. You can go with outfitters and do different things. But the problem is if you're not seeing these deer, like they still look big to you as a 150. They look enormous. They look like a Booner at 150, And I will say this, like I'm struggling a little bit because now everything looks small. Mad Hatter, I was so focused for 9 weeks of my life. I'm afraid to pull the trigger on anything now because I looked at him and I'm like, good God, that's a big deer. And now everything else, I'm like, meh, and I think
I would always rather err to the side of caution.
yes. Yeah.
So
There was one of our listeners and they're like, dude, I feel you. You're about to go through some shit, and I won't lie. He was right. There was some really funny stuff that like out of the comments. To me, they're one of my favorite. The guy calls me the December assassin. I was like, that shit's going to stick. Right. And it was funny. And I love that they interact like that, but one guy's like, dude, wait till you get up tomorrow and you can't see him on trail camera anymore. That shit's real, Mark. It's real. I got up the next morning. I'm like, every day of my life, I'm looking for this deer. The night of the second, I didn't sleep at all. Mikey Day drove 3.5 hours. I'm like, bro, I'll be up. There ain't a chance in hell I'm sleeping. That deer was laying in the woods and I couldn't sleep.
I slept like a baby, man. I slept like a baby. I knew that deer was...
I couldn't sleep, and Mikey Day comes all the way. Michael comes all the way up 3.5 hours to go help us recover the deer. And he's like, you didn't sleep. I'm like, I ain't sleeping. I ain't going to sleep a wink, And then we go recover the deer and Michael's with us. And I think he's screwing with me and says the deer's there. But, the point of all of this is we did this to have fun. And so to have one of the listeners of the podcast be like, yeah, wait till that depression sets in. It's real, man. It's real because I for 3 days, I look for Mad Hatter every day,
Yeah.
And when you don't see that deer, you're like, shit. And then the deer moved in and he's like, oh, this is my place. And we're like, oh, move-ins. I love move-ins. Move-in day is my favorite day.
Two really nice ones.
Yes. So some new stuff's come in because he's no longer beating their ass in that woodlot. So now some bucks are coming around and cautious, but they're getting more comfortable because his scent's eventually going to be gone from those rubs and scrapes. But I really think the reason we don't maybe see that is because of the people that we have, the real estate professionals we do use, Toby, Jesse, and various others, and you, and then your network of people. So if you're looking for a property and it's on your mind and it's something you're thinking about, reach out to us because Mark has a book of people that own exceptional farms and he knows everyone like the back of his hand because he's been on every one of these farms. So if there's something out there and you're not finding what you're looking for, reach out.
That is a unique perk to what I do.
Yes.
I get to peel back and look under the hood.
Yes.
At all of them.
Yeah.
That I get, tasked to come to their farm, I'm saying.
Hopefully this airs after we go get that piece in Kansas, but I'm having dreams of that one in Kansas. So hopefully we have it under contract before he watches the podcast and knows that I want it. But that thing's been keeping me up at night. And honestly,
I'm telling you, it's a 200 killer.
Yeah.
Your second 200 goes down right there.
Yeah.
It might be a couple years.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
But we're patient.
But
we're patient.
I can be patient because I know what that is. That's as a matter of fact, that's one of those farms I remember whenever you started earlier and you was talking about it's like almost like peeling your kidney out. That one would hurt to see go because I'm telling. Well, I won't say too much yet.
Yeah, just leave it there. We don't want to say too much because we got to make sure we get that thing under contract before this airs. And they're like, "Oh, those guys want it. They love it." But thank you guys. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your feedback, your comments. We love them all, man. We just, we've gotten a lot of good feedback. We look at other podcasts, and I don't think they get some of the other stuff. I feel bad for some of those guys. I'm like, wow, that's a pretty tough thing to have somebody say to you. But maybe you guys will do it.
The internet can be pretty ruthless.
Yeah, they are. It's easy.
People are very emboldened behind that phone.
Easy to talk shit 100%. Like this, ain't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
As what Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the face.
Yep.
Yeah, so you know, if they had a punch you in the face button on Facebook,
Yeah, that's
you know,
that easy
boom.
button.
Yeah, that.
You know where Trump gets a Diet Coke? Now, if I could just hit that person on the other side of that
Yeah.
phone
Yeah.
right in the face with that button.
Yeah.
Problem is, but
Yeah, but you know, hey, listen, man, we love it. We love the feedback, and we're trying to do better for you guys. And you know, I think we finally got our audio. I don't think we've heard from him anymore. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Like,
that's the funniest comment.
We love you, man. We love you. We tried to help you.
Whenever we first started this whole thing, it was 100 degrees in here, and when I say that, I am not exaggerating. I'm not ad-libbing. It was really, really hot, and we had to have a fan in here. Or we was gonna die. And one of the comments, the guy's like, "I just hear that buzzing noise, and once you hear it, you just can't unhear it," he said. I'm like,
and unfortunately,
he was burning my phone up. I'm like, dude, I am sorry, but there was about 2 or 3 episodes there that
it was all shot the same day. We were dying in here.
We were dying in here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I promise you, we got it fixed. We got it fixed. And then there was a couple weeks went by. And then he's like, dude, I don't know when you getting them episodes done, because I just can't unhear it. I just can't unhear it, you know. And and I'm like, just calm down. It was the last one, bud. This is the last one. And then he sends it. He's like, got the audio fixed. Thanks. Yes, thanks.
Glad you're happy, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
As long as I can get that sound that you can't unhear, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
gone. So thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We do appreciate you. Again, go to YouTube, subscribe. You're automatically entered to win the farm. March, we will be at the Iowa Classic. We'll be announcing the state that the farm's given away in. We hope to have a map there and have it in place so you guys can actually see. And then Mark can start to do his wizardry on said map for you guys to see the way that farm's going to lay out. It's going to be super cool, and we're really looking forward to giving it back to you. Plus, it's appreciated a lot. Yeah. Like maybe we're crazy to sell it a lot.
Oh,
no. Anyway, all joking aside, it was for you guys from the beginning, and we just really can't wait to get that farm in somebody's hands, because we know that that's really going to solidify the trust between the viewers and us. So we're looking forward to it. We'll see you next week. Thank you for subscribing to Lessons from the Woodlot. We'll see you next week. Thank you.